Morning beeps, good morning everyone, how's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Quick reminder, we are live tonight at 8 p.m, so if you can, please join. It should be a fun live, should be a busy one as well. Loads of questions come in. I will say this, if you want to get a question answered, it's probably best that you go to the link now. The link is up. Get a question in and then come back for the live at 8 o'clock and your question will be at the top. All right, let's talk Chris Eubank Jr. After Chris's last fight, we all saw that Conor Benn got in the ring. Neymar got in the ring as well, which was weird. But Conor Benn got in the ring. They went nose to nose and you felt like, okay, this is going to happen, right? Even in fight week, there was a bit of a heated exchange between the two as well. So you thought, okay, this is being perfectly sold for this to be the next fight for Conor Benn and for this to be the next fight for Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, Conor Benn had these problems with UKAD and the British Boxing Board of Control, which finally looks like it's now resolved and he's okay to fight in the UK. And there has been a lot of talk, I think, from Eddie Hearn about this fight happening in the first quarter. So you're looking January, February, March, April as to when this fight could happen over here. This is not according to Rick GLASER. Now, Rick GLASER is a boxing insider in America who doesn't get it wrong. Rick GLASER is always on the money. And he tweeted something late last night. This is what he tweeted. He said, breaking news, WBA middleweight champion Erislandy Lara looks like he's going to be traveling to the UK this spring to defend his title versus Chris Eubank Jr. It will be promoted by Boxer and on Sky TV in the UK. He went on to say Lara will be 42 in April. More details forthcoming. So it doesn't look like it's going to be Conor Benn. It looks like it's going to be Erislandy Lara. Now, I'm a bit split with this. On the one hand, look, I've been saying that Chris needs to fight for world titles. I think Chris is good enough to win a world title. Why isn't he fighting for world title? Well, he is. This is it, right? On the other hand, I remember watching Lara against Danny Garcia, and it's almost a fight that I really, really wish I could remove from my brain. It was bad, painfully bad. Both were so past their best, it was crazy. I mean, Lara was a fantastic fighter, 154 pounds, one of the best light middleweights of that era, of that generation. That's no longer the same Lara. This guy just simply isn't that anymore. So there's a part of me that's like, okay, it's good. Chris is finally fighting for another world title. Remember, he fought George Groves for one, which I think is fantastic. Be a world champion. But on the other hand, I'm like, it's Lara. And this is no disrespect to Lara, right? Lara, again, has paid his dues. He's been fantastic for the sport of boxing, but he's no longer the same guy. I would have preferred it to be Alan Canali. Like, I would have loved that. I would have loved it to be Hamza Shiraz versus Carlos Adames, which I think we know we're going to get. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Alan Canali. Winners fight each other. Maybe even losers fight each other. So this isn't necessarily me upset about it being Lara and not Conor Benn. I'm more upset about it being Lara when there is a killer world champion out there called Alan Canali, who I believe would come over and fight Chris Eubank Jr. Again, that being said, he's fighting for a world title, and I think a lot of people have screamed that Chris should be fighting for a world title. This now all kind of makes sense because in the last week or so, we've heard Conor Benn go from, in the last 12 months, Eubank, to, okay, I want to fight Barrios. And I've seen a couple of videos recently that Conor's released saying he wants to fight Barrios. Barrios, who last time out fought Abel Ramos on the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight card. I actually think that's a winnable fight for Conor Benn. And I think that for Conor Benn makes way more sense. Like, Conor Benn, I think, is a 147 fighter. His frame is a 147 fighter. We've seen him go to 154 in his last two fights, and I don't know if he can't carry that power up, but it's just not the same. Honestly, it's not the same. These guys at 154 just look a lot bigger. So Conor Benn is a 147 fighter, and I feel like him versus Barrios is the fight I've been calling for, you guys know, for a very long time. So I'm not necessarily upset that it isn't straight away Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. I'm more like Chris should be fighting Alan Canali, and I'm happy if that means Conor will be fighting Barrios. Although Barrios took a beating in that fight, he's going to be out, I think, until at least late spring, early summer. What do you guys make of this? Are you upset by this at all? I mean, I feel like we've been flirting with the Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. fight for so long. Now all of a sudden, it is strange though, but now all of a sudden that Conor's allowed to fight, it ain't happening, or at least ain't happening now. It does seem a bit weird. I do wonder if egos have got involved and they've gone to the negotiating table and they just can't agree. Because I can't imagine either one of these guys backing down from being the A side and taking the lion's share of the money. So it's almost like Chris is like, well, fuck it then. I'll just go and fight for a world title on Sky and make good money anyway and become a world champion. You can go and do what you want to do, Conor. So it does look like Conor's going to go that way and Chris is going to go that way. And I do wonder if they ever will go that way. I do wonder. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not mad at it. I just have nightmares of Lara's last performance. That's honestly what it is. If you guys haven't seen it, PBC might have completely removed it from YouTube or their archives because it is that bad. But hey, it is what it is. It looks like we are going to get Chris Eubank Jr. versus Erislandy Lara. As I said, Rick GLASER rarely gets it wrong, and I do wonder what Conor's going to do next. Because if you're Conor, you need to fight now. Like, yeah, Barrios is great, but you need to have a fight. Barrios, again, go and watch the fight against Abel Ramos. It's a beating. So he's out for a long time. So Conor needs to be fighting someone in the next 2-3 months, and it isn't going to be Barrios. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where everyone goes with this. But again, according to Rick GLASER, Chris Eubank Jr. is going down the Erislandy Lara route and not the Conor Benn route. Again, we'll talk about this in the live this evening. Let's have a look and see if there's any other bits of information we can see. I saw something. That's it. Derek Chisora. I was doing Talk Sport yesterday, and Derek Chisora popped into the studio talking about his next fight. Obviously, look, he wanted it to be Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller wanted it to be Derek Chisora. That would have been a very fun build-up, like very fun. Those two together, Jesus Christ, that would have been fantastic. It isn't going to be Jarrell Miller. It's now going to be Otto Wallin. It doesn't have the same stardust, if I'm honest with you. And I actually think sort of the risk reward here is very, very bad for Derek Chisora. Like the risk of fighting Otto Wallin at a southpaw, who's still relatively fresh, is very high, and the reward for beating him, don't know if you're going to get much reward. Whereas the risk reward with Jarrell Miller was just a lot more exciting, wasn't it? There was a lot more of an equal balance to it. So yeah, we'll see. This will be fight number 49. When I spoke to Derek and I was like, okay, what are you going to do for 50? He did say two things. He said either he fights Francis Ngannou in Africa, or I think he was almost leaning towards, this might sound weird, guys, but leaning towards an AJ Wilder fight. I know it's going to sound crazy, but he must have said to me, look, I fought everyone that I could in this era. Only one man I've not fought. And I was like, no, there's two. He was like, who? I said AJ and Wilder. He's like, oh, yeah. So I don't know which one he was referring to in that. I'm not quite sure. Surely it's Wilder. Him and AJ are very good friends, and no one is tuning in. That wouldn't even get made, AJ versus Chisora. So look, I don't know who it is, but what we do know is that it's going to be Otto Wallin next, and the show just keeps on rolling when it comes to Derek Chisora. Liam Smith in talks over a return to Matchroom, but it won't be against Ammo Williams. Wouldn't mind that, to be honest with you. I see Ryan Garcia's exhibition fight has been blocked by Golden Boy. I don't know. I don't know why, if it's an exhibition fight, but I think Oscar said something like, as long as Ryan's in the ring, Golden Boy have rights to it, or some, I don't know, some legal term. But for now, that fight's off. All right, anything else before we pack up? No, I don't think so. I think that's it. David Avanesian returns in December and wants another big fight next year. Conor Benn. Rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol almost over the line for February. Wow. Turkey tweeted something the other day. He said, don't believe everything you read or see, that he hopes to announce the fight card in 2 days. There has been now a lot of talk about Shakur versus Floyd going on this fight card. I do hope there is a twist. I hope that there is something else And it's not what we've seen. Not because not what we've seen is crazy, but I hope there's something like we didn't expect to be on that fight card. I'd love Bakoli to somehow get on the fight card against someone. But we'll see if he's maybe priced himself out. All right, anyway, guys, girls, we're done.